System analysis and design. This is basically for those of you who've already taken other technology classes, the system development life cycle, otherwise known as the waterfall method. Okay, and the very first step of the system development life cycle, or here in from our corresponding with the reading of our text, is the preliminary investigation. In other words, we're defining the problem. That problem could be we need a new billing system because we can't seem to keep track of billing accurately, and thus this is perhaps costing us money, which is a serious issue. We may be undercharging folks because we haven't been able to account for the fact that these clients should have been billed. In this preliminary investigation, we want to suggest alternative systems, not necessarily IT systems, but alternative systems such as, well, perhaps we need to hire new people to manage this for us, to keep track of these type of things for us. And thus the system analysts will prepare a short report under the preliminary investigation to see what the problem is, detailing some suggested alternative systems, and then sending this report off to management to see whether or not we need to go to the next step, which is the analysis phase. In the analysis phase, the data is analyzed and new requirements are determined. In the system analysis phase, the data is analyzed and new requirements are determined. So here, we're going to gather up our data to analyze it, and then we're going to actually analyze it. There are several tools that we can use to analyze our data. The first is what's known as a top-down analysis method, where we look at top-level components and then break out each of those components into smaller and smaller components. We have grid charts that we can use that shows the relationship between input and output documents. We have system flow charts, which show the flow of input data to processing and finally to output or distribution of information. We also have what are known as data flow diagrams. This particular tool presents data or information flow within an information system. This particular tool presents data or information flow within an information system. And then we also have what are known as automated design tools. These tools are software packages that evaluate hardware and software alternatives according to requirements given by a systems analyst. They're also known as CASE tools, or computer-aided software engineering tools. These tools are also used in the development stage as well, which we'll talk about shortly. And the last step of the system analysis phase is to basically create a report describing the current information system, the requirements for a new system, and a possible development schedule. Our next stage is systems design. In the very first part of the systems design stage, the system analyst is going to be designing alternative systems. In other words, they'll evaluate alternative systems for feasibility. And these are the three feasibility scenarios. The first is economic feasibility. Will the cost of the new system be justified by the benefits it promises? Technical feasibility. Are reliable hardware, software, and training available to make the system work? and operational feasibility. Can the system actually be made to operate in the organization, or will people, employees, managers, clients resist it? The system analyst would then look at multiple alternatives under economic, technical, and operational feasibility and select the best system from there by asking information such as, will the system be flexible enough so that it can be modified in the future? Can it be made secure against unauthorized use? And of course, are the benefits worth the cost? And in the last stage of the systems design phase is writing the system design report prepared for higher management and describing the alternative designs, presenting to them the cost versus the benefits, and outlining the effects of alternative designs on their organization. The next step is systems development. Systems development. In this stage, the very first thing that we're going to do after we decided what was the best system is to start acquiring the hard software that we need. And then, of course, acquiring the hardware that we need, and then testing that new system to be sure that it can work within our organization and with our existing infrastructure, including existing IT infrastructure. Once systems development has been completed, then we'll implement it through the systems implementation phase. And in this phase, the system is implemented, installed, and people are being trained to use it. Implementation can take several types of conversions. It could be direct, where we go from one system to the new system. It could be parallel, where both systems are running at the same time. You could pilot it in one area first while everybody else is using the old one. Or of course, lastly, you can phase it in. Into like departments at a time. The pilot and the phase typically are the more popular ones to do, with parallel being very expensive. And the last phase is what's known as systems maintenance. Systems maintenance. In systems maintenance, what typically happens is that there is a systems audit, okay, because everything's been implemented. It's running. The system is running now. Okay, so periodically you want to audit your system and compare it to its original design specifications. Is it doing what it says it's doing? We use the case of billing. Is it billing people that we perhaps missed before? And if it is, what's our cost savings? Right, that's what we're doing here in terms of doing a systems audit and periodically evaluating our new implementation. Now, a lot of times this DLC, this waterfall method, it takes a good year, if not longer, to implement this new system. And therefore, there are times where we need to do what are known as prototypes and rapid application development. The process of building a model that can be modified before the actual system is installed is what's known as prototyping. So we're actually creating a prototype that users can use, give feedback, and then create prototype 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0, etc., allowing us to implement a particular new system faster. All right, through end user feedback. Next, we have RAD here, and that's called Rapid Application Development. Rapid application development basically just use powerful development software, small specialized teams, and highly trained personnel. If projects are smaller, okay, then something that requires an SDLC, you can use prototypes or rapid application development teams where you have different individuals from different departments, basically key individuals that get together to get something done. All right, they represent the greater majority of folks, and thus it can be rolled out faster. So in today's lesson, we talked about system analysis and design, otherwise known as the system development life cycle, also referred to as the waterfall method. Well, the very first step is your preliminary investigation, where you define the problem, suggesting alternatives. And then after that, you have your system analysis. You're gathering your data, you're analyzing it based upon these particular methods and tools. After that, you go into designing it, determining the alternative system design that works best for you based upon your feasibility study. And then you selected it, and now you're developing it by acquiring what you need, and then of course testing it, and then you implement it via direct parallel pilot phase, in which you're training your employees how to use the new system, and then finally you're just maintaining it, make sure everything is fine. And if you have smaller projects, you can use prototyping or rapid application development to get a new system on board. And that's it for this particular topic.